What's going on, everybody? Hexmeister here with another episode of Hex Grassroots. It's Hex Grassroots number 14 with my co-host Hex Misha. Hex Misha, what's up?
Hey guys, good evening. Good to be here. Nothing better than a chill stream with Hex Grassroots. And we got a nice Grassroots as a special guest tonight. So, guys, looking forward. Meister, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. As you mentioned, nothing better than a Hex live stream with another Hex Grassroots. I'm really looking forward to meet him finally. Our today's guest is he goes with the Twitter handle Hex Mac. He's been very active in Twitter, posting a lot of stuff, retweet a lot of Hex content, pulse chain content. So for me, he's a typical Hex Grassroots, just doing his part. So I'm really curious to hear more about him and also how he got into Hex.
He's also a real OG, one could say, yeah, from the beginning. Always been there.
I would say so, yeah. Let's ask him. Should we bring him on?
Yeah, let's get him on. Let's not beat around the bush. Hex Mac, the real Hexican Machiavelli. Here
Please
he is.
welcome Hex Mac. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey,
Good,
man,
guys.
welcome.
How are you? Good morning.
Good evening or good morning, wherever you are.
It's
before
the morning here, even.
Before sunrise, yeah?
Yeah.
Amazing,
Nice,
man. Thank you very much. So what time is it actually on your end?
We just cracked past 6 a.m. here. I've been up since 4:30 here, but I'm here. I'm here for the community. I'm here for the vibes. I'm here for the love. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
That's real passion and effort, all for Hex.
You got it, man. I mean, like, I want to support the community. I want to be out here helping you guys build your stuff. That's all that it is, really. I really consider, like, what I do in this community just my job now, man. Like, I wake up and I start working. I was even, like, planning on getting to this stream a little bit earlier than I did, but it's like I've got a fucking community of like 20,000 people over on Facebook at the minute that I'm managing. So there's a lot of work to do, and like the sacrifice phase of PulseX at the minute is just, these are like the busiest times being a Hexican and being in this community.
So you mentioned you're managing like a big Facebook group. Is it cryptocurrency Hex related, or is it a different topic?
Yeah. It's all focused on Richard's products pretty much. So we've got a Hex group over there that's got coming up close to 10,000 people over there. The Pulse Chain group has about 6,000 people over there, and the PulseX group is about 1.5 thousand people over there. Yeah,
but those are Facebook groups, yeah?
Yeah, Facebook public groups.
I didn't know this is a thing.
Yeah, the community groups basically. So the way that I kind of do outreach and onboarding to the community is across all socials. I mean, I'm out there on Twitter, I'm out there on Instagram, I'm out there on Facebook.
And what app do you open first when you wake up in the morning?
Twitter. It's
Twitter,
straight to Twitter. Yeah, that's the platform I think that gets the most engagement from all the Hexicans, just because crypto Twitter lives there as well. So there's already just a giant community of people.
And is Gather still a thing? Are still people going over or doing simultaneously? Or
I think it's just one of those flavor of the minute things. Everyone comes back to Twitter eventually. Like they foray out into a new platform for maybe a month, and then they realize, oh, no one's coming with me. I better go back to Twitter. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's super. It's the network effects are so hard to crack, I have to say. I mean, I just followed Joe Rogan because he announced it that he will be there, right? So I try. Okay, then I said to myself, okay, let's support this movement, but I actually never logged in.
Nice, but at least you posted on Twitter that you are over there.
Even Richard got like verified over on Getter, which is cool because it like, if you're verified on Getter, it kind of brings all your followers across from Twitter. So
Really?
he has like 160,000 followers over on Getter, but
Whoa.
it doesn't really mean anything because there's no one over there right now. So
Yeah.
it is one of those things where you have to kind of go, okay, this platform kind of has the monopoly on things. I have to play inside of their rules for
Yeah,
right
kind of
now.
winner takes all, right?
Yeah, and to really just like steal their engaged people off their platform and onto something better. Like the only reason that I made those Facebook groups and built those groups is so that we have a social presence over there, so that all of the people who only use Facebook have somewhere to go and learn about Hex and Pulse
True.
Chain and Pulse X, because there's a whole demographic over there that before I even started in this community, I'd never used Twitter. Like for a decade, I think Twitter existed. I'd never touched it. I'd never used it. Never tried it. And then I'm on it. And in the first like year and a bit of being on there, you got thousands of followers now. It's like, okay, this can happen on all social platforms. You go over to Facebook, there's like 15 to 20,000 people over there that we've all put together.
Wow.
Nice,
Through these
nice.
community groups in a year. So I'm trying to get the message out across every platform and every place
Yeah.
that I possibly can, because like people can change their lives using this. We should be trying to get the whole world into this ecosystem. Really,
True.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We have TikTok covered, and I didn't know, but we also have Facebook covered, Facebook public groups.
Yep.
So that's good.
And I can link them in the private chat if anyone's interested in coming over and building and doing that. It's also on my Twitter profile. There's links pinned at the top of my profile for anyone interested in that kind of thing. So yeah, come over and join and educate people and grow and learn together, basically.
Cool. Yeah. Let's check. Let's share them here. Ah, yeah. Now I see it's your pinned tweet. All right. Cool. And did you start the groups, or did you got involved and try to help out?
No, I built them. So yeah, I built and I've run them since I think November of 2020. So that was maybe just under a year after Hex came out, because Hex launched in December of 2019. So I built those groups in November 2020. Yeah, so about a year after the launch of Hex. But in like the last year and a half, we've
All
gone
right.
from like
Nice.
1,000 people to like 10,000 people in some of the groups. So
Absolutely awesome. And you said it, there's another demographic on there, and they should also have a chance to hear it and see it. So that's pretty good.
Absolutely. The amount of, it's weird because like I've onboarded probably like 4 or 5 people with 6 figures plus, and if we had never been over there on Facebook, that never would have happened. You see like real tangible things. Like I even had this gentleman join the community last week, and I think I actually posted a comment of his on my Twitter at some point, and he was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm aping into this sacrifice phase. Wish me luck. And I was like, okay, like, I'm just glad you're here, man. But then, like a week or 2 later, he's been in the community. He's learned what the sacrifice phase is. And then you have new people coming in, and he's teaching those people now, and he's only been here for like 2 weeks. He was clueless 2 weeks ago. And now this dude who knew nothing 2 weeks ago is now teaching the new guys who have been here for like 2 weeks. It's a beautiful little system where like
awesome.
Everyone's there to teach, everyone's there to, connect and learn and get involved with this stuff.
And how is the vibe on Facebook? Are they nice because they are older, or how would you describe it?
Look, there's a lot of the Hexicans over on Facebook. I mean, just to name a few, like Nardo's over there, Crypto Vince is over there, Sammy's over there. Like a lot of the Hexicans are over there. So you have young people, you have old people. I had a post from a lady within the last week saying, I don't have a lot of money. I've got $50,000. I'm 63 years old. What do I do? How do I get involved in this stuff? And it's like, okay,
wow.
They had to just walked into like one of those, oh, what's the next coin that's going to tax? What's the next? Cardano's going in the moon. Like these people would get wrecked. So you're really doing them a service and you're helping them out.
And I would assume that groups on Facebook are or tend to be a little bit more spammy. I'm not sure if I may be wrong. Like, do you see a lot of spam, and do you have to curate a lot of content, or is it
man, there's a lot of like just I don't know
really?
what it is, like African spammers or from like third world countries joining those groups, and they're like, "Hey, here's a link to Telegram. Hey,
Yeah,
here's a link to come trade binary and forex options with us." And I'm like, "Yeah, nah,
yeah,
you're just an account that's been created that
yeah.
they put a weird
Just some
profile picture
scammers.
on, and just you do get a lot of that. You don't get that on Twitter, and you don't get that on kind of like Instagram, but on Facebook, where you can just like whip up a profile in 2 minutes and then
Mhm.
point that profile at something and go shill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit different over
But
there.
on Instagram, you also get a lot of scammers via a direct message, like trying to contact you.
Absolutely, I think there's a different dynamic on the Facebook platform because it's not
Mhm.
like on Twitter, like you've got the Twitter Spaces thing, right? And that's probably the closest thing that you have to kind of like a community.
Yeah,
Facebook
yeah.
is a community. Like it's not just a hey, get on and like my post and retweet my thing. It's a like, oh, I can leave these comments up here, and then someone can come back to them in 2 months and
Mhm.
go through this whole thread of like, this is how you onboard, this is how you do this is how you do that, and
Yeah.
it's there forever. It's a bit different. It's more like a telegram room or something like
Mm.
that, where you have these long conversations and posts, and people are literally like educating and walking people through like the sacrificing process, the onboarding
Awesome.
process. It's a different way of doing things, and I think that
Abs-
because it's a bit more you can leave things up and there's just posts there and you can go back and search through information. So it's a bit different dynamic over there. I like it. I think
This is the way to go,
a good
right? Like
dynamic.
to penetrate all the possible channels. I didn't even think about Facebook because, for example, I would state, and Misha, curious to hear your opinion, that in Germany Facebook is quite outdated. I would say
Yeah,
normally we
Oh,
don't use it.
it is so outdated, man. So
like
Right.
outdated.
a
It is
malicious word
really.
would be boomer platform
Yeah,
for it.
yeah. I was just about to say it's for boomers. It is
But
absolutely for boomers. But if you think about it, like even now we're seeing little signs, little inklings that they're about to do a major uplift and facelift with the metaverse and everything
right.
meta related.
Mm,
I've even seen over there that Facebook have put like little hex logos in their talk about future crypto things. So it's like, oh man, like this could really be primed for if they open the doors to the metaverse Facebook and they like start adding cryptocurrencies built into things like Facebook and the metaverse. You're literally primed for huge amounts of eyes and huge amounts of
Yeah,
engagement
yeah. And
just
you know
definitely.
based off
what?
that alone.
You know what also could happen? Like a lot of people left Facebook because suddenly their parents were on that platform. So
Yes,
they went
yes.
to Instagram or Twitter, and
Yep.
if they now spend a lot of time on these platforms, they could also become uncool, and then a revolution back to Facebook could happen, where
Yeah,
the new
like
cool
retro.
goes to
Yeah.
Facebook. Like you don't know it yet, but it's cool again, and then yeah, you have the
Absolutely.
basis there, the groups, and it's important to be everywhere.
I agree 1,000%. I mean, that's part of our problem with the marketing is that there's so many places that won't take crypto ads. There's so many places where you can't advertise, where you can't get the message out. If there's a platform there that you know of and you can see where we're not there, get on there and put us out there and get the message out. Because really,
Mm.
that's the biggest onboarding is how big like it's the thing that's going to bring virality sooner. It's the thing that's going to just push Hex to being viral, basically
Mm.
onboarding on a mass scale. We can get the message out and we can stream all the time and we can do all that kind of stuff. But it's
Sure.
getting people into the system. You
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
get
yeah.
them hooked and you got to get them in. And once they're
I
in, it's pretty much game over. I think at that point, like, what there's nothing else in crypto right now that like even holds a candle to what Hex and Richard is doing, in my opinion.
Even in-person onboarding and networking is very crucial because usually if you mention that you're into cryptocurrencies, most people heard about it. They're very curious, but they have no idea, right? They heard something about it in TV. So once you mention that you're into that, they usually are very interested to hear more, especially if you tell them something about like Hex, which is the best performing asset in the best performing asset class. So you have definitely open ears if you start talking about that. So I'm really a big fan of personal onboarding as well, I have to say.
And do you guys think that something like a critical mass turnover could happen? Like at one point it will be so predominant and so obvious that
I do think that, actually. I think
all doors break open.
I think it'll be like an inverse thing. So I think, like, if you just entertain this thought with me, so I think that the rest of the market is kind of moving into a bearish. I think we're going bearish for the next little while here. I don't know how long, and I'm not a chart person, but I think that the market is turning bearish. So we're kind of primed here to take that stage as everything turns bearish. We've got like a killer year ahead of us in terms of what's being built in the community, the products and the projects that are launching. Like, I think what's going to happen at some point is just we're going to flip Bitcoin. Really, like, we're going to wake up one day in the next 6 to 12 months and we'll have flipped Bitcoin and we will be number one. And at that point, like, how do you deny this anymore? How do you gatekeep that?
Absolutely.
Because
I think what would have to
if we
be
go
also
beyond the dollar here, we're in the number one spot.
I think what would have to happen is, as already mentioned in the community, the fiat on ramp, which is somebody is working on that, would be very important because it just makes it way easier to onboard people, especially noobs, right? That have no clue. You have to literally explain them everything, and the KYC process is also not as easy. And sometimes even in some countries you don't even have that easy access to even fiat on ramps for Bitcoin. We had other Hex Grassroots as a guest, Hexican Nigerian is his Twitter. And he mentioned that even if you would like to sign up in Nigeria, it's quite a hassle, and not everybody has the option. So he actually acts as a, you could say, broker and sells Hex to his peers.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. He's a typical Hex Grassroots with his approach.
Literally. I think that'll come actually quite quickly after. I really do see it that way. I don't know why I think it's because with all of the gatekeeping of, like, the nomics and the coin market caps and all that kind of stuff, like, what happens here if Bitcoin goes down to, like, 20, 30K and we go to the number one spot? Like, what happens here? Can the crypto space just, like, deny it and bury their heads in the sand and keep going, oh, this isn't happening, this isn't real? Like, what do you think happens when we hit the number one spot on these coin ranking sites?
Absolutely, I agree, and I mean, you're right. I mean, if we're in a bear market and Bitcoin does its 80% dip, and we finished the sacrifice phase for Pulse X, then we are in the phase between the end of the sacrifice phase and the launch of Pulse Chain. So it's quite bullish, right? Because you get the copy of your ERC20 of Hex in that example. I think this will be quite bullish, and we will go back to new highs, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
Good times ahead. Good times ahead.
Oh, indeed. I mean, I didn't catch it personally, but I saw someone tweet out yesterday that Richard said he thinks that Hex can be, I think, over $200. That's what he said.
Did Richard actually say that in a Twitter space?
I believe so. Now, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to find whoever tweeted that out on Twitter. to get proper confirmation of that. But I'm sure, and I'll do this later on because I'll go and have a look on Twitter and actually verify that.
Let's
that
take
is
a
what I
moment
saw.
and
That's what I saw,
appreciate.
and that's what I read. But
we have
that
this
is
huge crypto blockchain DeFi space going on for more than, I think,
oh
72 hours.
yeah.
Hex
But I think that
Orca.
was Richard did say that. Now that's not a price indication from him. That's not an anything. That's just him saying it could possibly go there. And Richard is always very cryptic with the way that he says things like that. He has a track record of saying things in a way where you need to read between the lines here. You need to understand what he's really saying here. So even if you take that and you go, that like a $200 hex price in my mind is completely unfathomable to me. That would just that breaks my brain thinking about that.
Yeah,
that's insane to me.
And then there's also pulls. $200 hex plus pulls.
And double bags on double chains and pulse hex, man.
Like,
right. This is
crazy.
So much more than another crypto. Or what I really think like Richard is doing and his vision is that he's building true crypto. It's not this like, pipe dreams and middlemen and centralized exchanges. And like crypto used to be a pure thing. It used to be so pure, and then all of the middlemen got involved with it, and they interjected in between you and your crypto, and now you have these lending platforms and these interest platforms, and there's all of this middleware men bullshit. And he's taking it back to really the cypherpunk vision of what crypto should be. So he's really just building true crypto, and everyone else is kind of playing,
bashing him for that.
Yeah, they're still playing in the Wild West, thinking, we can get away with this, we can do that, we can be unregulated, we can screw over our people, we can, pull networks down, we can do, whatever we want, and we're going to screw everyone. And the only person out there doing the exact opposite of that is Richard.
Yeah, and people blame him that he does the opposite, being a scammer or something. So, but I mean, it's as often mentioned, it's kind of like an EQ test, right? If you follow Richard or not, because I can imagine people who watch Richard Hart for the first time and they see this Rolexes, this jacket, and they just brandmark him, right? Like, it's a scammer, it looks scammy and so on. They don't go deeper, and then they miss the boat basically. But I mean, let's talk about the facts. No admin keys, right? You could not even send to Richard Hart money even if you wanted to, right? There's no donation address, no ads,
no victims.
Yeah, no victims, right?
Yes.
No one spoke out yet. Where are they?
Isn't it interesting that like in our community, there's a, and I'm sure you've seen from Rackham on Twitter, there's like $1 million bet out there for anyone to kind of step forward and say, hey, this is why it's a scam, and here's the proof, and XYZ and all of that stuff, and no one can do it. And even when people do get a bit mouthy about it and they start saying things, immediately that's brought to the forefront. It's like, what other community do you have someone that's willing to throw $1 million at someone to come forth and speak badly about Richard? It's non-existent. We are a diehard community. We've gone through the FUD. We've seen the cycles of all of that over 2 years. Like, we understand this thing. We know what we've got, guys. Like, you can pretend as long as you want and literally bury your head in the sand over everything. But
100%.
We're not going away. And
it's just getting more.
Here for 15 years. Like, do you get it yet?
100%. I mean,
really?
We can see it. We can see it also, as you mentioned, Hex Mac very vibrant Hex communities, post-chain communities on Facebook. But as you already mentioned, we have this Twitter Spaces, which is another great, interesting, promising channel. And Hex Orca has been hosting
that
this
guy is a
really nice.
machine.
Yeah,
Shout out to Hex Orca.
He has a lot of help as well, I have to say. But of course, Hex Orca, amazing job. I've been tuning in every now and then as well, and there are very interesting conversations. I think yesterday, Funding Jim joined for a couple of hours, and he took the the leaderboard, you could say, and answered all the questions. So I love this space. It's super promising.
And
Richard?
what you see, a lot of non-hexicans also, like, I don't know, NFT guys a lot, I think.
Charles Hoskinson was in there for a minute.
Yeah, true.
Nice. Because also the official title of the space is not like Hex and Moon, but it's like crypto blockchain. It's very generic, which I like, because you also want to expose this space to non-hexicans, right?
Absolutely.
To onboard them. So that's really cool. Have you guys tuned in yet? Hex Mac?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I was in there for a couple of hours yesterday.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
It's cool. People just kind of like jump up on the stage, speak their piece. If they need help from anyone or anything, that kind of generally comes pretty quickly. And then, it's like a community learning thing in real time. There can be hundreds of people in there all talking about one topic that, a lot of people might not be educated on.
And easy to use.
Yeah. You can see in a lot of ways how the future is going to be so decentralized. I mean, like, just the ability to tap into a space on your thing and have a billionaire sitting there ready to answer your questions. That's never been a thing before. To be that close to someone like that and learn and be mentored and get that insight, it's insane. People
absolutely
would charge money, like
they would buy a ticket in a Hilton hotel in a conference room for $2,000 to join a talk like this.
and they're going to realize that, like, those premiums on knowledge and education, okay, well, if we can give it all away for free, you don't have a premium on that stuff anymore.
Yeah, and the knowledge could also compound, just like your hacks. And
absolutely. You give things that knowledge away for free. And it's a Richard quote in a way. It's like those people who come from a place of fulfillment and have enough, it's in our best interest to see everyone else in that place too. To be abundant, to be giving, to be like your cup runneth over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's why I spend all day doing this stuff now. Like
awesome. You're a full-time Hexican now, yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like, I have to agree. Also, I'm feeling gratitude, and I want to give back. That's why I'm when I'm onboarding people, I take a lot of time to, to talk about security, about DeFi and so on. It takes actually a lot of time, and sometimes the onboarding doesn't work properly because you have to also onboard them to fiat on ramps. They have to sign to a different account. So yeah, I totally feel you here, Hex Mac. And what I wanted to ask you also, usually what we ask our guests, how did this journey start for you? How did you get in touch with crypto? When was it? Maybe you can reveal which coins were your favorite back then when Hex was not existing yet. Can you share your story a little bit with us?
Absolutely. So I got in 2017, late in 2017, during the run up from 3 or 4K to about 20K. And so that was my first cycle, and I got in right at the end of the last cycle. So that was, I think I bought my first Bitcoin at $11,000, and then I bought some more at $13,000, and it ran up to 20K. I was like, holy shit, I've made like $5,000. Didn't take any profits on it. And then I had to sit through like a 2 to 3 year bear market.
Rough one.
And you watch your, like, 5 or 6 grand go down to like $600, and you're like, yeah, this is shit. This sucks. I don't enjoy sitting through a bear market.
So how did you find out about Bitcoin?
it took a couple of tries for me. So I had a friend that was into crypto, he's still into crypto. He just told me, hey, you should look at this thing. If you get some of this and you hold on to it, maybe you'll be driving around in a Lamborghini one day.
Ooh,
And
nice.
literally that was like the signal that was like ping. And yeah, when I figured that there was a lot of money to be made here,
Right.
that's when I took it a lot more seriously. And
Cool.
I think
So you knew
that
somebody who kind of could guide you in the beginning.
no, he was into crypto, but I didn't have any help. I learned everything on my
Oh,
own.
okay.
There was no one around me that was into crypto except for him,
Mm,
and he was very much like trading, doing his own thing with a zillion different coins and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't very much of like a, oh, here's what you need to do and here's how you should do. Because even back then, I mean, like, there is so much structure and guidance right now from the Hex community about what this thing is. Um,
mm.
like back when I joined, there was no like the narrative for Bitcoin has shifted so many times that like when I started, it was like, oh yeah, it's peer-to-peer electronic cash, and then it became, oh, it's digital gold, or now it's a store of value, now it's this or that. There was no
Yeah.
like coherent narrative to anything in crypto before that. So there was nowhere to go to be like, oh, that's what I should be looking at. I should be looking at passive income. I should be looking at different streams of passive income. I should be looking at hodling, not trading. Like
Mm,
none of that was around or a thing. So
right.
my experience was like, okay, go and buy some Bitcoin, then go and learn about some of the other coins and what they do, and see if you can figure out what it is that these things exactly do.
Hmm.
Because it wasn't so clear before that. And then you had a lot of like forks of Bitcoin, like Litecoin and Dogecoin, and these are really the same thing as Bitcoin with
Right.
just a different ticker slapped on
Yeah.
the front and a few
Absolutely.
little settings changed, around the tokenomics and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it was kind
Totally
of
agree.
all very similar, and there was no like, this is a store of value. This is the narratives hadn't been fleshed out at that point, so it was very hard, like navigating around and knowing what to do.
Yeah.
I just knew, I think, that I had to accumulate as much as I possibly could and get as much as I possibly could of everything that I could.
Because
That
you
was kind
were
of my
very bullish,
mentality.
yeah?
I just knew that I think I had figured out at that point that it was a long-term thing, and that if you had more of it and then you sat through a cycle or two, you could really change your life. I mean, like,
Mm.
I remember I got big into like faucets back in my early days of crypto, which was just a
Mm,
website that it would slowly trickle out free amounts of crypto to you.
yeah.
I like
Yeah.
doing that. I accumulated like millions of Doge doing that. Millions of Doge
Wow.
doing that. If I had
Really?
upheld on, yeah, if I had upheld on to that Doge that I had until now, man, like holy moly,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I would have
Th-
been retired
That was
multiple times over.
2017 as well. This Dogecoin and its faucets.
Yeah, there's still faucets out there, man. I still use faucets to this day. I'm getting like as much free crypto of everything as I possibly can, and just holding it forever.
Mm,
I don't like.
right.
I'm at the point where I don't need to sell really anything. Like
Yeah.
I figured out
Yeah.
my
I mean,
little game that I play on my end. So I just like it's not like I'm sitting there and spending huge amounts of time doing this. There's
yeah.
little things like little miners that you can run in the background that's just going to accumulate your stuff. And I did that for a long time. Like I think there was one point where I had like probably like 10 to 20 million Doge just off the free faucets now.
Oh wow, that's insane, crazy.
Yeah. So like I flipped it
So
all into Hex and into other things before it went anywhere, because back then you didn't realize that this thing was going to pump like crazy.
Yeah, and there you learned your huddle lesson, yeah?
That's exactly right. Literally, like you can hold these coins across a multi-site. Like, imagine if you, and the greatest example of that, I think, is probably Bitcoin. You had have been holding your Bitcoin from the beginning, like Richard had. Like, you're not going to be able to outperform that doing anything else in your life.
Yeah, that's true. 100%. Yeah.
So I realized that. I realized that this was the place where I needed to put my focus, basically. I needed to double down. I needed to stop doing everything else that I was doing and focus on this place. Because if you could be free, let's say if you could spend 2 or 3 years working really, really hard, learning everything that you possibly can about this space, and then being free in like 5 years,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you do that over working until you're 65?
Absolutely, I totally agree
Absolutely.
with that. That's why sometimes it's I think it's a little bit sad that of course you don't know what you don't know, right? But some people are really ignorant in regards of financial freedom, which is possible with crypto. Not everybody will be financially free, right? As you mentioned, you need patience, discipline, you need to learn a little bit. But this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Let's be straightforward here.
Yeah.
I totally
And
agree with you.
those people that haven't realized that yet, and like I want to have a total message of encouragement to anyone, man. Like, I was working in a retail store like for probably like 5 to 10 years before this, like doing night fill, just doing really menial, shitty stuff, because I didn't have that I didn't have that drive or want to go to university. I saw it as stupid in a lot of ways, jumping through hoops to get a piece of paper that says you're qualified to do X, Y, and Z. It never seemed appealing to me. I was always like a rebellious type and always like a anti-establishment, anti-government type. So this thing was like it was like finding like the holy grail or something, crypto. It's like,
Nice.
it's anti-government. It's total personal responsibility and freedom and wealth, and like really one of the only places in the world where you can actually get free.
Awesome. Absolutely. Totally agree. So once you got into the crypto scene in late 2017, Hex Mac, you said, then you experienced your first bear cycle, 2-3 bear market, 2018, 19.
Yep.
Was it the time that you met Richard, or?
So I discovered Richard in early 2019, probably in like the first quarter of 2019. So I had
Nice.
like a good 6 to 10 months to kind of like go through his streams, learn who he was.
How did you meet
figure
him?
out-
Like, how did you discover him?
I think it was just because I've been sitting through a bear market. I really think that it was just like when YouTube recommends a video for you,
Yeah.
just like
100%.
that. It's so simple, but I think there was a period there where like Bitcoin Cash was a thing, and that was being airdropped to anyone that had Bitcoin at the time, and I started learning about like Roger Ver and everything that had happened between like the Bitcoiners and the Bitcoin Cash guys and all of that kind of thing. And I remember that Roger had done a stream with Richard, and I think that was the first time that those two dots connected with each other.
Right.
So shout out to Roger Ver. Roger, thank you
Nice.
for turning me on to
Shout out
Richard.
Roger
Thank you.
Ver. Yeah, this was a very good stream, by the way. Like, it was very controversial back then, but the stream of Richard Hart, and Richard back then, people have to know, was a Bitcoin maximalist, and Bitcoin Cash was basically the opposite, right? Like against the BTC core, you could say.
Yeah.
But the stream was very good, very high quality. So I remember that stream. Really nice entrance for you, man. Into Richard
Yeah,
Hart.
I mean, Roger is someone that I admire in this space. He's a voluntarist, which means that I'm not sure if many people know what that means, but like he's one of those people that like look to society as like things should be voluntary. Like if you want to do this, you should be able to do that. If you want to do that, you should be able to do that. It should be like a a thing where we all kind of volunteer to build a better society and world instead of like being enslaved to build a society for people that we don't really care about. So I admire Roger because he stands for a lot of good in the crypto space and a lot of the good ethics and I guess principles of cryptocurrency. Even though he's on the Bitcoin Cash train, like
Yeah.
my respects to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He taught me a lot in the beginning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, after you discovered Richard Hart, I can imagine you continued following him, through his later stage of the Bitcoin maximalist time. But then soon he started to talk about Hex or Bitcoin Hex back then, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Beginning of 2019.
Yeah, I remember it as Bitcoin Hex. It used to be a computational fluid dynamics token before then as well. I don't remember ever seeing
the legendary CFD token,
yeah, that's right. And I remember, like, this happened for probably a period of like 6 months, where I'd work all day and then I'd come home and I'd spend probably like 4 to 6 hours just watching Richard stream.
Wow,
nice.
And there was a period there of like, probably six-ish plus 6-9 months where that's all I would do really. Just
so pre-ICO, you went deep in study, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, like, Hex was way over my head, complexity-wise, in the beginning. So even being early into the community, I mean, like, we really probably didn't figure out things like T-shares until like six months into having the Hex going through the adoption amplifier and that launch process. We didn't understand it because you have to use it to understand it, and you have
that's
to
true.
use it for a significant period of time to understand it. So there was this period in the beginning where, like, I remember I took Richard's advice in the beginning and I got in on day 4 because he said to not get in on the first couple of days because there's a lot of FOMO and you'd probably get a bad rate, and that was very much true. Listen to Richard whenever he tells you what might happen during like a sacrifice phase or the adoption amplifier or whatever. He's giving you some like high level alpha there. So like he said, for the post chain sacrifice, the first 5 days are probably going to be the best time to get in. That was highly accurate statement. He also said in the beginning of Hex, don't go in, all in on day 1 because the FOMO was real. I think.
Yeah, the FOMO was real, definitely.
Yeah,
but that's really cool. It sounds like you got involved very early, like before the adoption amplifier, and it actually made click for you, because I can imagine some people who were involved in the crypto space in 2017 and then through the held through the bear market, they may become a little bit like allergic against any other new project because they got burned with the ICO hype in 2017. But it seemed that you kind of were ready to get into it right from the beginning.
I don't feel like I got so burned compared to everyone else because, like, I bought during the run up and I didn't buy that much. So, like, the 5 or so grand that I had made during that run up, like, 5 grand's not a lot of money. When it goes back to, a tenth of what it was, it's not like I didn't lose like hundreds of thousands of dollars or like $50,000 or I didn't experience that pain that a lot of people experience during that cycle. What I did was just and it's always been my strategy. I've literally never traded since I've been in crypto. I haven't done one trade on one centralized exchange once. I'm a goddamn hodler for life, man. Like,
nice, man.
I'm that type of person that if there's free shit or there's like anything going, and that's really, I think, how I got involved with Hex in the beginning.
Did we lose him?
I think so. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, let's give him 1 minute. So Hex Mac seemed to be he seemed to be involved right from the beginning. I'm really curious to hear more about his story.
Hey,
Let's just
Meister,
bring him
did you
back.
know what that facets were, where he got the Dogecoin from?
Yeah, let me just ask him in the chat. Yeah, the faucets basically for everybody who is not familiar with them. Basically, if a crypto project launched, in the beginning there was the so-called faucet. It's a feature where basically you can request for free a little amount of these coins. Like for example, Dogecoin for Hex Mac, and that would
But
just
who
send you
would give
literally.
it to you?
It was community driven. It was maybe driven from the founders. They just allocated a certain amount of coins to this faucet, and then you could just basically open the faucet, right, and the coins come to your address.
Okay. I
Yep.
didn't know that, Hex Mac. Welcome back.
Are you with us, Hex Mac? Is your sound back?
Apparently not.
All right. Let's give him one more minute.
He's saying, hang on.
Yeah. So it's literally like a faucet, where you just open it, right, and the water comes. So
Did you ever use that?
I never used it, but I heard about. I experienced similar stories, and I heard about similar stories where basically one form of getting free tokens back then was also that new projects announced their launch in the Bitcoin forum talk back then, and you could basically just answer in this thread, in this chat, that you would like to have. Or basically, their allocation model was not like an ICO, but everybody who responded in the forum, like, I want a share, like I want a little bit of this new coin, and I met persons who got really rich. They became millionaires by just basically holding it for 3 years, from 0 to millions. So.
And because they spoke up and claimed their coins, they got
literally,
them,
like
they hodled it, and it actually got
Literally.
something out of it. Hey, Hex Mac, welcome back.
I have no idea what happened there.
I think you were
No worries,
you were too enthusiastic for the mic.
You took
Yeah, that's it.
The mic couldn't keep
So there
up.
was, yeah, I heard you guys talking there. There was a site called Moon. It was like Moon BTC, Moon LTC, Moon, and yeah, that like basically every like 15 minutes you could just free claim coins off that. There was a period there where if you went through everything and you like did all the referrals and you could earn like 5 to 10 Doge every 15 minutes.
Wow.
Which is
Did you automate that, or did you manually reclaim them?
You could automate, yeah, and you could do manual. So depending on how I think you could do it every 5 minutes. I would just say that. I would do that for. Like I was broke at that time. I was working all the time. I was just trying to get like a bag basically built.
Right.
And that all ended up getting flipped into Hex.
Yeah, but even though you didn't hold Dogecoin for the whole of it, I like many did with Bitcoin who hold the whole thing, right, from the bottom to the top, almost nobody. But you learned your hodl lesson there, and you were prepared for Hex. You already learned it with Dogecoin, and then even better, you were prepared for Hex. Better this way than later or never. So
absolutely. It's weird the lessons that you learn at those times as well, because I wasn't like, you're not sitting there going, oh, I need to learn this lesson of how to hodl. Like it just happens. Like you just learn it by sitting in it and being in it, and it's like, oh, okay. I think one of the things that really stuck in my mind was that Richard, he's always said this: who are the people that get rich in crypto? Founders and holders.
Absolutely.
And you hear those statistics that are like 97 or 90% of people lose all of their money trading. I really took that very seriously, and I was like, I'm not even going to risk losing money here.
Yeah.
If I can't sit here and add to the bag, what, I'm going to risk part of my bag to get a small little potential gain? Like that didn't make sense to me. So I've always been I'll accumulate everything.
So Hex
you're
Mac,
giving
I have
away
a
something for free? I'm there.
Sorry for interrupt. So you mentioned it, right? Founders and holders getting rich. So I wanted to ask you, when are you buying the house next to Brian Armstrong?
There's another one getting rich exchange.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
founders and
Nice house.
The middlemen have weaseled their way in there. I don't know if Bitfinesse is out in the chat still, but yeah, I think him and Brian Armstrong have a boxing match to get to at some point, which I would like to see.
Absolutely.
Brian Armstrong, did he buy that in Australia or something?
It was in LA, yeah, for 133 million. But as you said, founders of crypto project, of crypto companies like Coinbase, and holders. Absolutely. Here's one proof. Yeah, sorry for interrupting you.
Concerning
dude,
trading, Hex Mac, you mentioned you lose your back. Not only that, Richard also says you lose your health, your friends, your family. I also think this is real. Like if you staring at the screen and like you put all your energy getting sucked out of you and trading and all that stuff, I really think you can lose your friends and your health.
Absolutely. And like what you're really trying to do is just take some money from some other poor dude. Like it's such a weird dynamic that I don't think people have.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how. No, I do know. I think it's legacy finance's influence, because that's what the stock market is in a lot of ways. It's like, oh, I buy this thing and then I sell it. You know, I buy this thing in the morning and then I'll have it sold by the afternoon. Let's go, Brian.
Bitfinesse. Shout out to Bitfinesse, by the way, always supporting the channel, always showing up. Thank you for being with us.
Also, Hexova, shout out to her. She's also a good fan. Supporting the Hex Grassroots movement is strong.
Hell yeah.
So Hex Mac, back to your story. You mentioned then you participated in the adoption amplifier. So I imagine, or I assume already from back then you got involved with the Hex community. Is it true, or did it take
Absolutely.
some time?
It took some time for me because, again, I didn't understand what this thing was in the beginning. So there was this huge period of time where like I'd got into the adoption amplifier, I DCA'd in, I'd done that part of things. But because we hadn't understood shares, like this is like a deep Easter egg for some people. Like we didn't even know that staking past 10 years in the beginning was worth anything.
Right.
We had this idea, and it was floating around at the community at the time that after 10 years, the share rate was capped. So it didn't matter if you staked beyond 10 years at that point.
Right.
Because the share rate was capped, and we had this idea in our heads that it's like, oh, so 10 years seems to be the place to, you know, stake and to do that. And then you realize, oh, okay, well, the maximum the system can do is 15.2 or roughly, but you're holding those shares for another 5 years without losing them. Right. Like we didn't understand things as basic as that, and I would consider that basic to intermediate knowledge these days. Like you should know about the bonuses that are being applied to your stakes and what the, you know, pushing them out for that period of time does. But we had to learn all of that, and it took a while. Like I remember there was a point that like it was probably 6 months into that kind of thing where like Kyle came out and RG3 interviewed him, and we learned about shares and we learned about all that stuff. It's like, absolutely. All of the people that are here now are so lucky because they get the crash course of all of the mistakes that we made. Like I still have stakes. I have stakes bleeding out at the minute that are like they're under 100 hex.
Like, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not surprised because before Hex you didn't have this kind of system, right? You invest in a coin and hold it or trade it or sell it, right? But something like a coin, and behind that coin there's this T-share system or share system that which makes up your yield. This was something completely new. So also for myself, like I was into Hex from the beginning, but it took some time to actually grasp what a share is. I was thinking, okay, I'm in Hex, so I don't need to learn that. But yeah, you're right. Like it takes some time, right, to realize about the shares.
And I think one of those moments that really kind of stuck out for me was like, you know, the weirdness that's going on in the world right now. That was all kind of happening and things were looking weird. And I remember waking up one morning and my portfolio had just like 10x'd overnight.
Wow.
That giant green candle that we just never went back to those price levels again. Like it just doubled overnight. I was like, oh, okay, you need to take this thing seriously. You need to figure this out, because if that can happen, like just overnight, basically, like you need to start putting your energy and focus here and figuring out what this thing is, because that hadn't happened with any of the other coins that I was holding. So hadn't happened with Bitcoin or Litecoin or any of these other coins. We were in a bear market at that time. We're literally in the middle of the bear market. It's like, what is happening? What is happening?
It was the pandemic bear market, right? This was early 2020 then, like March.
Yeah.
April,
yes. Yeah. Like that first quarter of that year.
Yeah.
I remember waking up and just looking at my portfolio. I was like, what? And then I think that like that kind of clicked me into gear, and like I wasn't on Instagram, I wasn't on Twitter, I wasn't on any of these things. I was just like a Facebook dude. I had my profile there, and I kind of just did that. And then I remember getting in like September, October, November into the community, finding crypto Twitter. I didn't know crypto Twitter was a thing. I think that's what really like kicked off everything for me, was like getting onto Twitter and doing that kind of thing. And that's when I got in, like towards September 2020 kind of thing.
But before you joined as an active community member, you were listening to, you mentioned RG Free Stream, Hexo Stream, right?
Yeah. Every day I'd listen to Hexo.
Nice. I wanted to ask you which are there special like Hex influencers from back then that you remember well, like Hexo, and maybe some others from Telegram or from YouTube?
It was definitely Discourse Syndicate and Hexo. Definitely those two. I remember even like just finding Discourse Syndicate like just probably like a month, maybe 2 months before Big Payday. And then, you know, like we did like 24-hour live streams for Big Payday. And that was the first time that it was like, oh, like I realized that there was a community of people here. Like a real community of real people that actually want to push this thing and want to get involved. And then that kind of bled into like, you know, if Big Payday was November-ish, then the first Hex conference was right around the corner in January. Like we had this like little like, oh yeah, Big Payday. And then like all of this community stuff going on, all of this like just insanely fast community forming around this thing. And it was like, oh, there's always something here. I can like, it's so weird now that like I can flick on YouTube and like 5 of the 10 recommended videos are my friends. Like it's so weird to like wake up and go, oh, my friends are everywhere. Like the community is everywhere. We're literally everywhere over YouTube. Like that wasn't a thing for me. Like you'd watch YouTube and you'd see all this stuff, but like knowing that you were part of that and you could get on one of these streams and you could talk to people. And yeah, absolutely. Like I remember my first stream was with Bran. Shout out to Bran, Ballet Bran.
Nice.
And
good man.
After that, I just kind of fell in with the Discourse Syndicate crew and cut through in the Discourse Syndicate room, and you know, I just kind of try and
the captain or more with Kinetics.
I love them both, and they know it.
Cool. I mean, you know, like talking about the first Hex conference already back then, when I back then when I compared the Hex community community activity during the first Hex conference with the very beginnings, I was like really impressed how much they grew. But if you compare the first Hex conference now with the second one, for example, the difference is even higher. Like, for example, Justice Hill, right? Like a pro NFL football player. He's like a total enthusiastic Hexican, like joining streams and like supporting.
It's insane.
It's amazing. So that community is growing so good.
If you go into Twitter later on today and just do this for your own sake, like Limp Bizkit, I think that like the lead singer Fred Durst, all he does is like he follows Richard, he follows Pulse Chain, and he follows Hex, and that's all that he follows. Like
crazy.
We have people in this community that like DJ Lethal follows me on Twitter. Like these guys have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and have been like leaders in their industry for a long time. You've got musicians, you've got, Kissing Candace, one of the bands in the community. Like this is a movement. It's not even like we're hitting athletes, we're hitting musicians, we're hitting artists, we're hitting like, why is that happening? Why are all these people like getting involved with this community in this place? It's because we have the greatest product in cryptocurrency, and it should be obvious. It's not yet, but it's going to be obvious in the next year or two.
Yeah,
finished product. We have it. Whatever it is that you're looking for, you'll find it here with Richard and his products. Like this is huge, and we're
good times
just at the beginning still.
Yeah,
it's going to be so much fun.
Absolutely. Yep. As David Feeder mentioned back then already when we hit 1 cent, like it's just the beginning. It's literally just the beginning.
Yes, so. And we're still there. Even like if we take that comment from Richard about him saying that he think Hex can get to a couple of $100, $200, and obviously no expectations of work from anyone for that. But we are at the goddamn beginning still, literally. Like.
Even the rankings, they would have to employ so much people to hide it. Will be tough for them. The coin rankings.
I mean, like the lawsuits. That like, where do you guys think that this ends? Like, extrapolate the vision out a little bit. Like, I think we win. I think we win really hard. Personally.
Yeah. I mean, we like to call it, and we are biased here a little bit, like this grassroots approach, because we don't have help from, from institutional investors, for example. There are a couple of reasons for that, but usually Hex grows very naturally by this grassroots approach, right? We doing outreach, you do outreach on Facebook, we do in-person outreach, we do a YouTube stream and so on. And the growth has been amazing, and it's just the beginning. But as soon as we get even like this, you could say mainstream crypto support, by mainstream media coverage, ranking sites coverage, and so on, centralized exchanges, at least to buy like fiat on ramps, right? Like if Hex was on Coinbase, it would definitely help, right? Just to buy, to get this fiat in. So I would definitely, I think once this starts, then there will be no stop for Hex for sure.
I agree.
And Hex Mac. Sorry, go ahead. Then I have a question.
No. Yeah, you go. It's just an irrelevant comment.
I was still curious. You mentioned like you studied pre to the ICO of Hex. You've already been into it. You learned it from ground zero. Like there was no knowledge. You went deep dive 6 months pre ICO, and then how was your entry strategy? Like, did you get in all in the first day, or you DCA'd in? How was your buying approach? Oh, okay.
So I was still if you think about how the cycles played out, like I think it was late 2017 when we had that run up to 20K. So like 2018 was a bear market, and then 2019 was a bear market. It's funny because all of your learning generally comes in like waves, and for me it does. It comes in these big like information dumps, and then like you take on a whole bunch of information, you kind of sift through it and you figure it out, and then you can integrate it and implement it and then move forward with that like learning process. I didn't have any of this stuff in the beginning, like because I was, I mean, what was it, 6 years ago, the 25, 26-ish at the time. Like I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anyone around that was helping me, being like, here's a strategy to use, here's a thing to do,
Right.
here's XYZ. Like I was a noob, and it was literally all self-taught. So I didn't even
Awesome
learn about that stuff until I was already, Hex was months and months and months into that kind of launch. So
And then you continued buying?
I'm still buying to this day.
Absolutely.
Nice, man.
and will continue to buy into the
Up
future.
to
I mean, like,
200, yeah?
oh yeah, man. There's just some things where you realize it's like, oh, you can have a bunch of fiat money sitting around, but is it going to produce me the yield that Hex does?
Hey, Hex Mac, 200 per Hex. Like Abbott looks like a little schoolboy next to with $7.
$7 Hex.
Look, I love that. Yeah, shout out David. I love the his prediction. Like even last year, he was
awesome.
saying that, like he's a perma bull, man.
He
He
was saying
wants
it from the beginning. Like when
yeah,
Hex was
that's
$7,
what I love about it.
it was
It's
like,
like
Hex was like 0.3 cents. He was like
dollars.
$7.
Like yeah. I love the optimism in that. I love it.
Yeah,
I
he's
love it.
amazing. The crypto Sparbuch guys are really working hard in the US currently. So
They work.
yeah.
Abit is also
That-
very active on Instagram with his stories, like always selfie filming himself when they
Yes,
were in New
yep.
Orleans having the casino on the boat.
Oh,
Love his stories.
that a lot of that stuff would have been absolutely amazing to get involved with. It sucks that we're in a bit of a weird situation travel-wise in the world in a minute. Did you guys get out to any of the European stuff? Like, did you go over to England at all?
Yeah. We joined the Hex 2-year anniversary in London. But as you mentioned, it was a lot of like we traveled from Germany, but it was still like, even though it's not far, it was a lot of hassle for us. We had to rebook flights, this test here, test there. Well, a lot of hassle for this little trip, but hey, of course we do it for the Hex, right? That was amazing. Really, you would love it, man. The atmosphere,
I can't wait, man.
The atmosphere
wait
was
for that.
mind blowing. Everybody.
You
was
sound like
super
someone
nice.
we would have fun with, Hex Mac.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, the party was awesome. I don't know if I will go to Las Vegas though in March. Will you guys
Yeah.
go? Me,
Yeah, it's
probably
hard.
not.
Yeah, I can't. The travel is pretty much out of the question here for us at the minute. We're trapped on an island out here.
So Hex Mac, can you reveal where are you located currently, in which country or continent?
Yeah, I'm in Melbourne, Australia.
Cool. The Australian Hex community seems to be quite big. Are you involved actively in this community on Telegram and on YouTube, or?
I kind of float between all of the worlds.
Right.
I don't like ingrain myself in one particular slice of the community. I kind of just float, like, because I've been involved for so long from the beginning.
Yeah.
A lot of people have gone in different directions and done different things, but I have connections through all of them. So I'm much more of I connect to people rather than groups or ideas. But that kind of thing gives me the ability to move between kind of all of the groups and all of the ideas, and I kind of just free flow. I don't really connect to any one place. But yeah, I'm just here to serve at kind of every level that I can do, whatever I can do for the community.
I wanted to ask you about like in-person meetups, right? If there is something going on in Melbourne or in Australia that you had the chance to participate, maybe some Hex meetups.
I haven't yet, just because all of the restrictions, and like we've been in the longest lockdown in the world here in Melbourne. Our city has been the longest lockdown, and the harshest restrictions and the craziest stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
crazy.
haven't had one here yet. Some of the other Aussies have. I know that up in Queensland they did a meetup there, and I know that over in Perth they've done one there too. I'm sure, and I know that there's a couple in New South Wales, which is just above us, territory or state-wise. I know that there's a couple of people up there that they know each other, and they're friends in real life. So we do have that kind of thing. Like all of the Aussies know each other, and we communicate and talk with each other.
Yeah.
But it's still disjointed from the way that whatever's going on in the world
And it
is.
wouldn't be so easy to just make a quick drive over to Perth, right? It's
Oh
quite
my
huge.
God, trying to get just going up to Sydney is probably like a 12-hour drive, and that's the closest.
Yeah.
Perth would be like a week-long trip to get out to Perth.
And
Like,
and
it's-
Melbourne is Victoria State?
Melbourne, yeah, Victoria. Perth is like the other side of the country to Melbourne. So Melbourne to Perth is
Through the desert, yeah.
it's literally like you have to kilometer-wise, 37 hours, 3,500 kilometers.
Okay, wow.
Crazy.
12,
that's
24. It's like 2 days.
Berlin and back.
Yeah. yeah. Plus, you'd have to stop. You'd have to stop, and you'd have to sleep, and you'd have to get food, and like it's just insane.
Yeah.
Insane to do that kind of thing.
But thank God we live in this internet era, right? Like as you mentioned, you don't like only because you're located in Australia doesn't mean you only should hang out with Australian Hexicans, right? It's a worldwide movement. Doesn't matter where you're from. So I'm really happy about like the streams, the interaction on Twitter, on Telegram. This bonds us all
Absolutely.
together.
I mean, like this kind of thing really didn't exist 5 years ago. Where can you just like wake up and then roll onto stream and meet two new people in the community that you've never spoken? Like this is a different thing. We're in a different world.
Yeah, this is amazing.
But it's great.
This is so good. Awesome.
Yeah, and
awesome.
it's independent from from centralized media or anything. Same like the Twitter Spaces. Like you can just join, hop on, easy to use. Just hear the audio. You can get out anytime you want. You can request speaking, but you don't have to. You have all kinds of people. Borders don't matter. It's exciting, I think.
Imagine like just waking up and going, "Oh, Richard Hart." Like, not pretend that we're not you and me. Like, a random person can jump onto a Twitter space, see that purple thing at the top, and go, "Oh man, I can go and speak to a billionaire." When has that ever happened in the history of the world? It hasn't. But now, with all of this, remote media and all of this stuff, like you can just wake up and jump onto Twitter and speak to a billionaire. It's insane.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're looking forward. There will be such a good time ahead.
Oh my God, man! Can you think about like just wait until Michael Saylor wants to buy our bags? Like that.
Yeah, he wants to buy the top at 200 probably. And then he'd be like, "Hex is digital energy. It's
Oh my gosh, it's
energy,
He puts like the Burberry bonnet,
immutable into a smart contract."
Oh my God! Like we have that to look forward to, guys.
He's gonna make
back to the
a
stream.
Tucker Carlson interview about Hex, and then he goes on rambling about Hex.
Yeah, that will happen, man. Like I remember even like probably towards the end of last year, like maybe October-ish, Richard only had 100,000 followers on Twitter then. I think just in that little period, he's 170,000 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
He's
That's going to be
certified
250,000
on YouTube
soon.
now.
Yeah, there you go. Like you can
It's happening.
feel you can feel our little tendrils spreading out into every little corner of the internet in the world, and I love it. I love it.
Absolutely.
And Hex, looking into the future, Pulses there, Hex $200. Like, what are you doing then? Where do we see you?
Good
What
question.
do you do? Like, what's happening?
Oh, there's going to be a lot of building in my world over the next, I can feel it, like, decade. Like, I've planned a lot of things out. I've always been a long-term, like, minded person in the sense of, like, I've known for a long time what I wanted to do with my time and my energy once I was free. And that's it's still going to be a lot of this. Like, I think my holy trinity at least for me, music is one of them, crypto is one of them, and funnily enough, psychedelics is the other one. So
nice, man.
I want to help educate people. I want to help people. I want people to learn and grow and evolve and expand and figure out their minds, figure out their finances.
Awesome. Good mix.
All of that kind of stuff. So I'm here to help people, and I'm here to serve in as big a way as possible. And I think a lot of the OGs and a lot of the community that have, like, we're done, man. We're like, I'm 30 years old and I'm retired. I've got 40, 50 years to leave a really big, strong impact on this world, and I plan on doing that. And I know a lot of these other people are planning on doing the exact same
Have you
things.
heard of Compassion Cartel and Pulse Promise by Matt from?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's also like something very interesting. You know, you have the resources. What you're gonna do now, and it's not yet, but at one point you have to figure it out, right?
Absolutely. For me, my goals were already set in place before any of this happened. I think for a lot of people, probably the opposite was true. But I had a long-term vision in place before I got involved in any kind of crypto, and crypto was going to be the thing that facilitated those dreams being able to happen. It was the stepping stone to let me do those things, because I need time, I need energy, I need resources, I need all of this stuff to be able to do what I want to do with things. And that wasn't possible until I figured out the crypto side of things. So now that I have the crypto side of things figured out, and I'm in a position where I'm stable and I've got all my financials sorted and everything like that, like, now it's the time to really execute. And that's why I'm here at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I'm the first thing that I'm doing is I wake up and I start working on community shit for this.
That's the spirit.
I'm so balls deep in this, man. we're going in the moon.
Absolutely. And Hex Mac, you shared your long-term vision with us. Thanks for that. How about the short-term vision, you could say, for the next 1-2 years? You already mentioned in the beginning, Facebook groups are very big, very active. What can we expect here from you? And also, are you planning, maybe, as you mentioned, you're into psychedelics and music, do you maybe plan to advertise Hex to this subcultures, to this communities, maybe?
Of course.
Nice.
All roads in my world will always lead back to Hex and Richard Hart and all of that kind of stuff, because we need to go out there into these other communities.
Absolutely.
We can make a big impact in the world. Even just, at a music level right now, the music industry is shocking. It's absolutely, it's like legacy finance in a lot of ways. Like, that they hold you to these long-term contracts. They don't give you the right money. They underpay you. Like, it's horrible. And all of that can be fixed with getting rid of the middlemen in the music industry and putting things like Hex and crypto in their place. Like, that's what these professional footballers realized. They have a short window of time to make money. Yeah. Because they're going to get hurt and injured over long periods of time. Like, you've got this small window to make a lot of money, and then figure out how you're going to use that money to keep yourself free and keep yourself sovereign. And there's so many ways, and not even through, you know, anything crazy, but just like opening the doors to people and saying, hey, look, if these dudes are screwing you and taking 95% of your money and giving you a small little cut, there's a better way to do this. And it's through decentralization and building out the infrastructure of this kind of new world that we're all moving into and going to be living in eventually. I mean, NFTs, all of this stuff, like it's all going to be there. It's all coming. So the more ways that you can click into people, and like even what Richard did with the Sense Foundation in a lot of ways, like we'll be able to do those kinds of things en masse and on scale in the future. Like, okay, this is the cause that I like and that I'm about. Yeah. I can go and facilitate building a bridge to these guys and getting them involved with stuff. It's like we can very quickly change things on a pretty grand scale, I think. So all of that kind of stuff is exciting. Spreading this everywhere that it can possibly be spread is the goal, the end goal.
Absolutely. This is a very great plan. Thanks for sharing that. You're absolutely right. We have to also outreach to other communities to give them also the opportunity to learn about Hex, because as mentioned before, you don't know what you don't know, right? And in hindsight, when I see my network that comes back to me and is very thankful that I told them about Hex, right? So I always try to spread the word. And of course, in the end, they have to do their own decision. It's their money. We just educate, right? We don't give financial advice. But I think it's also your duty, as you said, somebody onboarded you. Maybe you got lucky and found out about Richard. You got financially free. I think it's also important to also give the others the opportunity to at least hear about Hex and then make their decision based on that.
Absolutely. Imagine if someone had have told you in like 2012 that Bitcoin was the next big thing and all you had to do was sit and hold.
Yeah, with like basically nothing, like maybe 1,000, right? Like that's nothing.
Yeah,
really not that
and
much.
like you could free someone that could then go on to change the world in a totally positive way that you have no comprehension of right now. But that person could come and just change things on it. Like it's such an exciting position that we're all in right now, and I'm very grateful to be in that position.
Absolutely, we're looking forward, definitely. All right, guys, we are 120 in. Hex Mac, again, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much for waking up that early. Guys, Hex Mac woke up at 5 a.m. just to join the stream. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for sharing your story and your plans with us.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you for having me.
Enjoyed the talking, man. Hope to see you again.
Yeah, this was a vibe, man. You guys are cool.
Yeah, awesome. It was funny also.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
See you around, Hex Mac. We stay in touch.
Catch you later, guys.
Bye-bye, man.
Bye.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, again, original Hex Grassroots, Hex Mac. Let me just open his Twitter quickly so you can see his
and show also
Twitter
the
account.
Facebook groups once again.
Yes. There we go. This is his Twitter account. While I have this open, Misha, will you give us some summary of the stream today?
Of course. Guys, today we heard Hex Max. He was special guest number 14 on Hex Grassroots. Hexican Machiavelli out of Melbourne, Australia. A retired Hexican OG who learned about Hex in early 19, followed the whole run-up before the start of the adoption amplifier, got in, is still buying up to this day, and is now retired, can focus on other stuff. His interests besides crypto are music and psychedelics. We will see what will come out of that in the future. He is thankful for Richard Hart to bringing back crypto to what it really was supposed to be about. Real crypto, real DeFi without middleman, and we are winning. And if you get crypto right, then that's the most important financial decision of your life. And
Absolutely.
yes, he is also the founder. He's doing outbounding messaging work. He's the founder of 2 Facebook groups, a platform I haven't thought about yet, but he founded 2 groups, one for Hexicans and one for Pulse Chain. basically addressing and onboarding another demographic group, which is really, really good. So if you're on that platform, join, support, moderate, support him. He's doing good stuff, and I think also a very nice and good sense of humor. Young man, liked it.
Absolutely. That was Hex Grassroots number 14. Thank you for tuning in, guys, and see you next week.